Governor Whitmer has been running around the state from her State of the State address to anywhere she can on the campaign stump. And one of the things she's been touting is the fact that she has introduced the largest budget for higher education in history. And she's very proud of that if she can get all of this through the legislature. How will that affect you? And is she doing the right thing?
Well, first, she's absolutely right, Chuck. We've seen a decline in state appropriation since 2002. So when the governor says, this is a big lift, this is a big support for higher ed, she's indeed correct. What she's proposing is probably beyond what any of us as presidents thought would be on the table, but we're delighted by it. As a Great Lakes state, Michigan is last in state appropriation for the Great Lakes states. We're in the bottom third in the United States for state appropriation. So for us, it will mean more dollars to be able to operate out of the general fund. Hopefully it'll mean that we won't do much of a tuition raise coming forward as this appropriation settles out. As you know from all your years, the Senate and the House have to opine. This isn't something the governor could do on her own. Correct. But we think it's a very good starting point for us, and we're delighted.
As I understand, enrollment is up at Eastern Michigan University. I think, about 20%?
We're up 20% from our tough COVID year, but we're up 7% from pre-COVID. Okay. And we think that's the real mile marker for us, is how are we doing compared to pre-COVID? We know we had a lot of students that took gap years, took a year off during COVID. Some students just don't do well online. The methodology makes a difference for their learning. So we were very excited to see that increase. And you're right, we are a tuition dependent university. We depend on tuition dollars, we depend on student head count, and we're always excited when we see that number going up.
Sure. President Smith, your board has approved a 3-year plan to spend $200 million to upgrade your campus and the buildings, and particularly the housing. How old are those buildings there?
We have buildings that are 50 years old, Chuck, and they are immaculately clean. I want to give full kudos to our folks in maintenance, our folks in custodial. They've done a wonderful job making those buildings look great, but they're not technologically ready for today's world. We have very, very old infrastructure in them. So what we don't remodel, we're going to actually build. We're going to build 2 new residence halls, and we're going to remodel every other residence hall. So it is a $200 million investment. It is about a 3-year process, as you said, and we're very, very anxious to see that roll out. We're bringing student groups together now. We're bringing faculty groups together. We have our staff giving us input. Obviously, we have our housing staff giving us a lot of input on what these need to look like, not for 2025 or 2027, but what do these buildings need to endure into the 2030s and the 2040s?
Real quick before we go to the break, how much input will students have in this process?
We've had a number of student groups. Student government's been involved. We've had residence hall residents involved. We did an international student listening group just a week or 2 ago. So we are listening to the consumer because they are the folks that live there. What the president thinks might be a really good idea for a residence hall is really superfluous. I don't live there, I don't work there, I don't study there. So we really want to hear from the mouths of our students what works for you, and hopefully what works for the next generation that comes after them.
We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to Spotlight. President James M. Smith. He is the 23rd president of Eastern Michigan University. COVID-19 pandemic has had so many ups and downs throughout this process. People are starting to come out of their masks. Numbers are starting to go down. Those are good things. Where are you at right now at Eastern Michigan University in dealing with this health pandemic?
Well, I will say, Chuck, your ups and downs are absolutely correct. I think probably about the 4th of July in 2021, I was reading the Washington Post or the New York Times, and it says, this is coming to an end. And I was getting really excited. And then Delta came, and then Omicron came. And We have been very, very cautious in how we've lived through this pandemic 2+ years. We were very early adopters of wastewater analysis. We have a Michigan-based company that's our colleague and has worked very closely with us. We were very early adopters of an extreme communication pattern where some people thought daily messages was a bit much, but we were trying to get as much information out as possible. Now we're feeling a little better. We still have masking requirements. We still have testing requirements. We have a testing center that models that of a hospital. We have our medical lab science students, our medical lab science faculty and staff working with us as we have testing opportunities for students, faculty, and staff. So we think we've been very deeply immersed, and our numbers have been very good. Now, during Omicron, of course, we had a blip upward, but that's gone down as we've seen it throughout the state. Where are we next is the question everyone asks me as I walk across campus or down the hallway. I think we're on winter break right now, Chuck. I think when we come back from winter break, we need about a 10-day period to assess. Winter break is like New Year's Eve on a college campus.
Yeah, it can be
lots
tough.
of students go to lots of places. They travel. They engage in fun activities in the South, and we want them to come back. We want to do some of that testing, get some good baseline data. But we're all hopeful that the mask can be maybe shed here towards the end of the semester, beginning of the summer. And we do a daily check-in pass to do a self-assessment of one's health. And we're wondering maybe that might be eased by summer. We're hoping by fall we might even be back to whatever that new normal is.
Sure. Dr. Smith, you at the university have taken in some of the Afghan refugees. How's that working?
It's been wonderful. We have 12 families with us. You've probably seen a little of the media on it, Chuck. We had some older married and family housing that was not being used. Mm-hmm. And Jewish Family Services came to us and we said, sure, we can accommodate. You mentioned students before. The students have really rallied around these families. I saw one of our student government young men playing soccer with one of the young children in the Afghan families. We've really enjoyed having them, and we look forward to working with them and hopefully helping them find permanent housing eventually. We're
all watching what's happening over in Eastern Europe. If you end up getting requests to take refugees from Ukraine, will you do that as well?
Well, I was hoping you would ask, Chuck. First, I want to say to all the viewers that have family, friends, business relatives in Ukraine, the university stands with you. We know and we understand the depth of the tragedy there. If you study Ukraine, the second largest city in Ukraine, Kharkiv, is a huge university city. They have federal universities, they have private universities. So as a university president, I feel for that city. Certainly I feel for the whole country. Our signage around campuses, all are welcome here, and we really want to live that message. All are welcome here. If we can open the door for opportunity for people, we want to be part of that door opening process.
All right, President Smith, there's probably no better way to end this interview than on that note. A lot more to talk to you about. We will get you back, we promise, and you can update us on other things that you're doing there in Ypsilanti. Thank you so much for joining us today on Spotlight.
Thank you, Chuck. It's always a pleasure to be with you, and thank you for your viewing audience for allowing me to be here for a little bit. Thanks.
Well, I'm sure they're glad to have you as well. Thank you so much, and stay safe. And I'm Chuck Stokes. We'll be back next week with more newsmakers in the Spotlight. We hope you have a great week.